Kia ora SYC. We're into our second week of our devotions. I hope you're going well in your bubble. This week we're going to look at God's gifts to us, and we're going to do that by continuing to follow our story of the people of God through the book of Exodus and their season in the desert. So far we've seen how God, in taking them into the desert, was bringing them out of slavery from things they were trapped in, and we've seen how God has sought to guide them and lead them through the season. I want to continue the story by looking at a passage from Exodus 16 that I want to read to you now. The whole Israelite community set out from Elim and came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after they had come out of Egypt. In the desert the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to them, "If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted, but you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death." Then the Lord said to Moses, "I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions. On the sixth day they are to prepare what they bring in, and that is to be twice as much as they gather on the other days." Here we get a sense of the change for the people of Israel, that in their previous life they were probably used to this quite diverse diet, but here we see that God is gifting them food, but it's quite a simple diet that they're going to live on. And I want to reflect a bit today on how actually for a lot of us probably things have been stripped away during this time in our bubbles in this lockdown, that I know for me a lot of the normal things that I'd go to, not just to feed me physically, but to feed the sense of who I am and what I'm worth, actually are a bit harder to go to now. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe they weren't actually giving me what I thought they were giving me. I think a really good example for me is that I like to watch a lot of sport and keep up with a lot of sport, and there's pretty much no sport happening anywhere in the world. And if I'm completely honest, well, it would be hard if sport stopped for good. Actually, my life isn't a whole lot worse. It's probably not any worse at all, because there's no sport happening in the world. Actually, I'm just as happy, I'm just as content, my life is just as good without it. And I wonder for us what things in our lives actually weren't giving us as much as we thought they were. That they were almost like, using the food imagery, they were the desserts of life that give this extra little thing, but actually weren't the hearty meal that we maybe thought they were. And like God invited his people back into this simple meal, maybe God is inviting us back into actually what are the important things that I want you to feed your life, feed your soul on. And when I think about this, I think about a passage in Luke that goes like this. Then Jesus said to his disciples, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you'll eat, or about your body, what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothes. Consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap, they have no storeroom or barn, yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable you are than the birds. Who of you can worry by worrying add a single hour to your life? Since you cannot do this very thing, why do you worry about the rest? Consider how the wildflowers grow. They do not labour or spin, yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all his splendour was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith? And do not set your heart on what you'll eat or drink. Do not worry about it, for the pagan world runs after all such things, and your Father knows that you need them. But seek his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well." Here we're reminded that actually we're not meant to worry or chase after these things. And actually the important things of life that are going to feed us, feed our soul, actually we can't chase after them. Actually they're a gift from God. And as I think about the idea of gift, gifts aren't just there to bless the person who gets them. They're an invitation into a relationship. And I think with sometimes the bread, the daily food of our lives, it just kind of is there and we take it for granted. And I think the worrying thing for us can be is that actually we've got these gifts from God, and if we're taking them for granted, we're missing the point behind them. We're missing that invitation into a relationship with God. So I wanted to finish this off, think about actually what are the things in your life that are feeding your soul, feeding who you are. Are the really important things, or the things that you're really valuing during this time? And you might want to write them down. You might want to pray them out loud, but I want you to pray out a prayer of thanksgiving to God as a sense of gratitude of God, you have gifted these to me to bless me, but you've also gifted them as an invitation into a relationship with you. And I want that relationship, so I'm going to thank you for that stuff. It might be your friends, it might be your family, it might be the roof over your head, or it might be actually the most important thing we have, which we really celebrate this year, this time of year, and that's the gift of Jesus and a relationship with Him. So, take a moment. What are you thankful for? What are you going to offer a prayer of gratitude